London, England, a modern city built on thousands of years of history. From Millennium Bridge to Big Ben, from the London Eye to Buckingham Palace. Today we're covering some of London's most iconic landmarks. So pour yourself a cup of tea, sit back and relax, because today on Tyler Travels TV, we're in London. London is the capital of England and was built along the River Thames. The tallest structure along the banks of the River Thames, and one of the newest, is the London Eye. Constructed using parts from all over Europe, this 443-foot-tall Ferris wheel has 32 air-conditioned pods, each representing one of the 32 boroughs of London. Smart travelers avoid lines by booking their tickets online and picking them up at one of the self-service kiosks. 25 guests at a time line up to board the capsules for a 30-minute ride. Interactive guides built into the capsule walls will identify what you're seeing on the horizon. The ride is so smooth you hardly feel like you're moving. But once you reach the top, well, let's just say the view is unbeatable. With the iconic skyline of London laid out before you, it's not uncommon to feel like you're on top of the world. Big Ben and the Palace of Westminster, St. Paul's Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, and so many more of London's classic buildings are laid out in front of you, just begging to be explored. But for now, just enjoy the moment. Watch your step as you disembark, and exit through the gift shop. Since 1837, Buckingham Palace has been the official residence and principal workplace of the monarchy in London. Every year, the palace plays host to several official and state events given by Her Majesty the Queen and other members of the royal family. Every day during the summer and every other day during the winter, guests can gather around to watch the changing of the guard, a tradition that epitomizes the pomp and circumstance of the royal family. This fully functional palace is comprised of 775 rooms, including 19 staterooms, 240 royal, guest, and staff bedrooms, more than 90 offices, and 78 bathrooms. If you're visiting during late summer or early autumn, be sure and get tickets to view the royal staterooms, the working heart of the palace. This ornate golden fence is known as the Victoria Gate, and directly in front of the palace, this ornamental statue is the Victoria Memorial. Both tributes named after Queen Victoria, the beloved monarch who reigned from 1837 until her death in 1901. This nearly 80-foot-tall monument is the tallest monument to a king or queen in England, and is topped by a gilded bronze winged Victory. The monument symbolizes all of the attributes that Victoria found to be most important, including courage, truth, justice, progress, and peace. And don't forget to exit through the gift shop. Adjacent to Buckingham Palace is the charming St. James Park. The oldest of the capital's 8 royal parks, its small lake and large old trees make for a pleasant stroll on a nice day. A wealth of waterfowl such as ducks, swans, and even pelicans call St. James Park home. And don't forget to make your way to the Blue Bridge for some excellent views of Buckingham Palace. Arguably the most recognizable landmark in all of London, Big Ben stands tall along the River Thames. a historical sentinel conjuring images of our favorite movies, TV shows, and books. What may surprise you, however, is that Big Ben is not the name of this iconic clock tower. It is actually the Elizabeth Tower. Big Ben is the name of the bell that rests behind the clock face. The Elizabeth Tower and Big Ben are attached to the Palace of Westminster, which is home to the British Houses of Parliament. Sharp-eyed fans of the popular TV show Downton Abbey may also notice that the Palace of Westminster bears a striking resemblance to the real-life Highclere Castle. That's because shortly after completing work on the Houses of Parliament, architect Sir Charles Barry remodeled Highclere Castle and incorporated much of the same design in both. Another design of Sir Charles Barry is the famous Trafalgar Square. This site has played a part in London's history for centuries. It's played host to innumerable cultural events, performances, public demonstrations, and celebrations. Just a stone's throw from Big Ben and the Palace of Westminster, this square is central to all of London, making it an easy walk to Covent Garden, Buckingham Palace, or St. James Park. Standing proudly in the middle of the square is Nelson's Column, built to honor Admiral Nelson for his victory at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. An 18-foot-tall Admiral Nelson proudly stands atop his column, while scenes depicting his battles are displayed below. At the base of the column sit 4 massive bronze lions, practically begging to be in a photo with you. Two fountains flank Nelson's Column, offering a calming oasis during the winter and a welcomed respite from the heat during the summer. Magical mermaids, dolphins, and other sea creatures spout water into the basin below, creating an extremely relaxing ambiance. At the north end of the square stands the National Gallery, one of London's most important museums, with paintings spanning 6 centuries. Admiralty Arch at the south end of Trafalgar Square marks the entrance to the Mall, the famous red road that leads to Buckingham Palace. Westminster Abbey was founded in the year 960 and is one of the most historically significant churches in all of the United Kingdom. Westminster Abbey, which is a part of the Church of England, is not to be confused with Westminster Cathedral, a Catholic church in central London. Smart tourists arrive early and avoid weekends as lines can wrap their way around the block. Cameras are not allowed inside, as this is still a place of daily worship. From the coronation of William the Conqueror in 1066 to the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton in 2011, Westminster Abbey has been involved in some of the most significant moments in history. The Abbey is the final resting place for 17 monarchs, but it's not just royalty who are buried here. Over 3,300 people are interred in the Abbey, including Geoffrey Chaucer, Charles Dickens, Isaac Newton, and Charles Darwin, just to name a few. The cloisters adjacent to the abbey were built between the 13th and 15th centuries and were the center of life in the monastery. Monks would use the area for meditation, exercise, study, and as a passage between buildings. This octagonal room in the east cloister is known as the chapter house. In the 14th century, the precursor to what would eventually become Parliament would meet in this room, before they moved across the road to the Palace of Westminster. Recreated ornate stained glass windows surround the room, casting a noble glow on the proceedings below. Original tiles dating back to the 13th century are still visible. Other medieval relics include these paintings from the 1300s, and this, the oldest door in Britain, constructed in the 1050s. Westminster Abbey is a true piece of history that has so many more secrets and stories to be told. Make sure it's high on your to-do list when you visit. Oh, and as always, exit through the gift shop. If it's a storied past you're in search of, look no further than Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London. a medieval castle in the heart of London with a bloody history. The Tower of London was established by William the Conqueror in the year 1066, but nearly 1,000 years of history have culminated in the behemoth construction you see now. These holes, known as murder holes, would be used to throw any manner of terrible things at invaders, including arrows and hot oil. The tower has functioned as a royal residence, a prison, an observatory, a treasury, an armory, as home of the Royal Menagerie and Royal Mint, and currently the home of the Crown Jewels. The infamous Traitor's Gate, originally the Watergate, was used to transport prisoners from the River Thames into the tower. Since the early 16th century, the tower has been guarded by yeoman warders, better known by their nickname, the Beefeaters. Dressed in Tudor-style tunics, they offer entertaining tours of the tower included in the price of admission. The Tower of London is, in actuality, 13 separate towers. In the center of the fortress stands the White Tower, the oldest of the 13 towers, authorized by William the Conqueror in 1078. Guests can make their way through several of the indoor spaces to learn more about what life was like for those who lived within the tower walls. This room is a recreation of Edward I's bedroom in St. Thomas's Tower, a fair representation of the type of luxury experienced by a medieval king, complete with a small chapel. This room in the Wakefield Tower was most likely a council chamber and includes a reconstructed throne. But on a more macabre note, tradition says that King Henry VI was murdered in this room in 1471. The Tower of London is also home to 6 ravens, watched over by one of the Beefeaters known as the Raven Master. Legend has it that the tower will fall if the ravens ever leave the fortress. One of the best ways to experience the tower is by taking the Wall Walk, a walk around the huge stone encirclement that forms the tower walls. You'll see several of the towers both inside and out, and it affords some of the best views of your surroundings. A stroll through the White Tower is a stroll through history. You'll see medieval armor worn by kings throughout the centuries, and get an up-close glimpse at King Henry VIII's psychological warfare tactics. For more than 1,400 years, St. Paul's Cathedral has been a fixture upon the skyline of London. The current cathedral, built by famous architect Christopher Wren, is at least the 4th to stand on the site. This iconic cathedral is representative of the spirit of London, having famously survived during the Blitz of World War II, and having been witness to some of the most influential moments in British history, such as the funeral of Sir Winston Churchill, ceremonies marking the end of the First and Second World Wars, the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana, and more recently the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. 365 feet above the ground and weighing in at 65,000 tons, the cathedral's massive dome dominates the skyline. Wren's design was inspired by the new architectural trends of the day in Europe, as typical medieval Gothic cathedrals were topped with spires, not domes. At night, St. Paul's is illuminated, majestically watching over those Londoners who have loved her for so long. Though a modernized city has sprung up around St. Paul's, The cathedral remains just as it was 300 years ago. And it's just as impressive to the modern tourist as it was to the Londoners of the 17th century. Just a few steps from St. Paul's Cathedral is a much newer addition to the city, the pedestrian-only Millennium Bridge. This steel suspension bridge officially opened to the public in 2000, but wasn't completely functional until 2002. The bridge connects the north and south banks of the Thames, with St. Paul's Cathedral to the north, and the Tate Modern and Shakespeare's Globe to the south. There are over 30 bridges that cross the River Thames, but the Millennium Bridge is the only one specifically built for pedestrians in over a century. The bridge offers some spectacular views of the city, and is extremely handy when trying to get from one attraction to the next. Located on the south end of the Millennium Bridge is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, a reconstruction of the theatre that mounted many of Shakespeare's original plays. The design is as historically accurate to the original Globe as possible, with some upgrades in safety regulations. Builders used the same types of materials that would have been available in the early 1600s when the original was built, and even used many of the same techniques and tools that would have been used in the construction. Shakespeare's Globe is an open-air amphitheater, which means shows primarily run spring through fall, but tours are offered year-round. The Globe also offers classes and seminars for up-and-coming thespians, along with a small museum dedicated to Shakespeare and his works. The museum is a self-guided tour with a companion audio guide, and has representations of sets, costumes, and even musical instruments that would have been used in Shakespeare's day. And mine friends, I assuredly saith to thee, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to exit through the gift shop. London has some amazing museums, and most are amazingly free, but one that should definitely not be missed is the British Museum. Dedicated to human history and art, the museum first opened to the public in 1759. Over the past 2.5 centuries, the museum has expanded to what we see now, a massive collection of over 8 million objects from all around the world. Admission is free, but donations are welcome. Opened in the year 2000, the Queen Elizabeth II Great Court is the largest covered public square in Europe. 3,312 pieces of glass make up the ceiling, and no two panes are the same. Among the museum's greatest artifacts is the Rosetta Stone. Discovered in 1799 by Napoleon's army, the Rosetta Stone unlocked the language of the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, which had been unreadable for 14,000 years. Ancient cultures from all over the world have their place here. In this room, we see ancient stone panels from Nineveh that date back to 700 BC. We see a variety of activities being displayed in the etchings from daily life, everything from transportation to battle scenes. As we continue our tour, we see Greek and Roman sculptures, along with other antiquities from ancient times. There are several sculptures from the Parthenon, the ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Athena. Made from white marble as a show of Greece's power and wealth, these statues and wall carvings once decorated the outside of the Acropolis. Some statues, like these, are original, and some are recreations, but all are magnificent. The Enlightenment Room is dedicated to those discoveries, artworks, and writings from the 18th century. The Age of Enlightenment was one of reason and learning, and Europe and America flourished with a bevy of new art and scientific discoveries. This room displays objects that reveal how scholars, artists, and writers understood and classified their world around them. A stroll through the British Museum is a stroll through the history of the human race. Understanding where we come from and how we got to where we are is one of the best ways to keep moving forward. Harrods department store is a London institution, and no trip is complete without a visit. Even if you're not one for shopping, stepping into these hallowed halls of retail history is a rite of passage for all who visit here. No matter when you visit, chances are the place will be busy, but avoid weekends and weeks leading up to holidays, and you should be able to make your way through with relative ease. Harrods, of course, has the big designers: Dolce & Gabbana, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Tiffany, Gucci, and Burberry, to name a few. But it also has so much more. Step into Harrods Food Hall for a quick bite to eat or something to take home. They have desserts and meat pies and everything in between, and it's all made right in the Harrods kitchens. If this doesn't strike your fancy, there are 27 other restaurants to choose from, and they even have fresh produce. Once you've had your fill of delicious pastries and cakes, make your way through the crowd to the elevators to start exploring the 7 floors and 330 departments. Another famous feature of Harrods is the Egyptian escalator, decorated with Egyptian symbolism and sculptures. Harrods is best when you can take your time. The store is absolutely massive, so don't expect to see everything. Instead, pick a few departments that sound interesting and take your time. London is an incredible city that should be high on everyone's travel bucket list. From art to culture to history and architecture, London has something for everyone.